It's very interesting because it's a panel interview. Basically, there's a personality clash within the interview process.
And the fact that he even got the job was amazing.
Yes.
Because they kind of looked at him as this oddity, but he was also, if I remember, kind of like their last choice.
The reason we have lost to the Soviet Union is not because we're not good enough. It's that we are not performing as a cohesive unit.
Right.
That's his biggest argument. So on one hand, your bottom left chemistry with subordinates, which is the most important.
Right.
How he manages that is a very delicate situation.
Welcome to Game Changers Mindset Podcast. I'm your guide, Jeffrey Allen, and this podcast exists for people who believe life isn't just something we experience, it's something we shape. Alongside of me and Game Changers founder is Assad Koshul, whose work centers on one powerful belief, that is, real transformation begins with how we think. Assad, how are you today?
Doing well, Jeffrey. Great to be with you.
Great to be with you. We're going to have some great discussion today. Just a reminder for everybody, game changers are not defined by circumstances. They're defined by mindset, character, and the courage to see possibilities that others don't. So we're going to explore that theme today as we work through a clip from the movie Miracle about the 1980 gold medal hockey winning team. Did I get that all right?
Yes.
Good. Why don't you set this up for us, Assad, and we'll just move forward from there.
Here what we're going to talk about is very early in the movie, actually lesson number 2, in which Coach Herb Brooks is an interview candidate to coach the national hockey team. This takes place in 1979. And the 1980 Olympic hockey team arguably is one of the greatest upsets in the history of sports.
After how many years? Four
Olympics straight. The Soviet Union has won the gold
16
medal.
years there.
Yeah. 64, 68, 72, and 76, they've been the gold medalist winners.
Amazing.
And the conventional wisdom is that the United States is not really a medal contender, but even the people who are interviewing Coach Brooks, they're like, look, we just don't want to be embarrassed. We want to be competitive. And that's how it's under this circumstance that they're interviewing Coach Herb Brooks. And there are other coaches who've also already said no.
Yes. Because
they just don't want to go ahead and coach a team that they feel is not going to be competitive in the Olympics.
Now, there's a critical theme here, or not to be redundant, but critical thinking is a discipline. That is a great portion, not only of this clip, but what propels Coach Brooks and ultimately the team to make adaptive changes in winning or in style to become the gold medal winners.
Yes, exactly. And so when we say critical thinking is a discipline, discipline does not mean that should live in your creativity. Like in theory, like discipline, say in the military, means that you're given instructions and you obey. We're not talking about that type of discipline. Okay. We're saying having the discipline to respect a methodology and critically think things through. Like what is inquiry and what are the tools of inquiry? And so if you have that level of intellectual discipline, that will help you to develop critical thinking and expansive thinking.
Ooh, those sound like big words.
Well, they are, because see, the thing is, again, what we want to do is we want people to think expansively. Because if you can think expansively, if you can think out of the box, that puts you in a position to be a much better thinker, analyst, and a problem solver.
And again, kind of in our ongoing discussions, we come back to this over and over again. Triangulated thinking and binary thinking, correct?
Yes.
And that's exactly where this lesson is going to go with
yes.
us. Okay, exactly. Got it.
So what happens is that Coach Brooks is interviewing for this position, and although he has won 3 NCAA championships, it's just that they're facing a very big challenge. First of all, the Soviet Union, not only is it the best team for 4 straight Olympics, most of the players on the team have been playing together at least a decade. Okay. And here, he's going to put together a bunch of 21-year-olds, basically, 20, 21, and 22-year-olds to play the best team in the world.
And if I remember, he's also under a bit of a time crunch here, isn't
it?
By the time he gets called in for this interview?
Yeah, it's months.
Months. Yeah. Not years, but months. Okay.
This time, the players are all college players. Yeah. They're not NHL players.
Right.
And he has to pick a team, get them trained, get them to buy into a methodology, get them physically ready to play the best team in the world.
That is a big task.
Yeah, it's a gargantuan. I mean, even one of the interviewers says that you think you can compete with, because Herb Brooks says, I think we can compete with them. And person says, well, that's a very lofty goal, Herb. That's another way of saying it. That's very aspirational.
Right. But Coach Brooks has got a kind of a personal challenge here, and he has been critically thinking or analyzing a lot of what's going to go into making this success happen.
Yes, because he specifically, there's a very good, very powerful probing question here. Why do all-star teams fail according to Coach Brooks? Because he mentions in the interview process why they all-star teams are not as good. Because the way that the interviewers are saying, wait, we put NHL players against the Russians and we were blown out by them, in scrimmage matches. But Coach Brooks says that the real challenge here is that the all-star players fail because they're not performing as a cohesive unit.
Mm-hmm. Now, in that, Coach Brooks also brings up some changes that he'd like to see as a result of what he's been observing.
Yes.
That there is, if I remember this correctly, there's an American way to play hockey, there's a Canadian way, and then there is a Russian way.
Yes.
He's proposing a merger of all three of those. Observationally, this is what he's come to.
Yeah, he's saying that we want to deploy a system that's a merger of the Canadian and American systems.
Basically taking the best of the best.
Yeah.
And entering that into a disciplined approach.
Exactly. So what he's saying is we have to change the way the team trains, the way it prepares, and we have to make the schedule tougher, longer, and more competitive. So first thing is he has intellectual clarity on what needs to be done, not just like the motivational piece of it.
He's the only one in the room, apparently.
Exactly. And he's saying, look, we have to develop a system that is a merger of the Canadian and American hockey systems. And then the interviewers do say, well, if that the kids be taught that in a couple of months.
That was the challenge, wasn't it?
And that's definitely one of the many challenges. So one theme is intellectual combat, another theme is team dynamics, and the third theme is leadership. That he's saying that the most important thing for us to compete with the Soviet Union is enhanced team chemistry. That individual skills has to be put into a system to, again, optimize individual talent for collective achievement. And he specifically picks the players as well, not in this clip, but he specifically is looking to really enhance team chemistry in a very unique way. And that's his conclusion he reaches. And he says in the interview panel that the reason all-star teams fail is they rely on individual talent, and individual talent is not going to help you beat the best team in the world.
So in his analysis of this, he is actually pointing out a limiting belief. Mm-hmm. We've always done it this way. We can only do it this way. And then the other one that I caught in this clip was there was not an acceptance that new team members could actually be taught to do this.
It was in such a compressed time.
In a compressed time. Well, but it wasn't just the compressed time, was it? It was the fact that they could learn this at all.
Yes,
I mean, at least that's what it seemed to hit to.
Yes, no, that was definitely part of it. Like members of the Hockey Federation say, wait, can a new system even be taught? And you're operating, so will the kids pick it up fast enough? Because one, you have that, and then you have the time constraint, which magnifies the challenge.
Right.
And the players haven't played together, which is a relationship challenge. Right. But you see, it's very interesting because it's a panel interview. Basically, there's a personality clash within the interview process.
And the fact that he even got the job was amazing.
Yes.
Because they kind of looked at him as this oddity, but he was also, if I remember, kind of like their last choice.
Yeah.
If they were going to compete, correct?
Yeah, but when you look at the clip, there are a couple of people when he says, look, the reason we have lost to the Soviet Union is not because we're not good enough. It's that we are not performing as a cohesive unit.
Right.
That's his biggest argument.
And that was the one that was acceptable.
Yes. And there are a couple of people who, when he says that, they do not.
Okay.
It's not as if the Soviet players are bigger, stronger, or faster. So when we look at it from a thematic perspective, you have themes such as personality classes, negotiations, intellectual combat, team dynamics, and leadership. And you understand that within this context. Because what Coach Brooks is doing is he's throwing out a revolutionary idea that not only are we going to make the schedule tougher, longer, more competitive, we're going to actually create a hybrid system to play hockey.
For the first time.
For the first time.
Right? Nobody had ever even touched an approach like this.
Exactly.
That's pretty forward. It must have been very scary, too. It was an unknown commodity.
Yes.
Even though he was successful, he's proposing that they also learn to not just trust, but buy into what he was wanting to do.
Because even if you have one player who doesn't buy into the philosophy, right, it's going to be very difficult to go to defeat the Soviet Union.
And when he assembled the team, that was critical to how he had to compile and put these team players together so that they were accepting and able to think really expansively.
Yes.
Not unlike any lesson we've learned where when we put a limiting belief in front of ourselves, that is all the further that we will go.
Yes.
We cannot exceed our own
limiting
limits.
belief is arguably the biggest constraint. And this is an important point that you highlight here in terms of limiting belief, because the way GCM is built, our emphasis is not just to momentarily inspire you. There are enough professional athletes who give motivational talks that have reached the highest echelons of the NBA or NFL that are more effective at that. But what we do is we teach you to think critically and methodically.
Okay.
And we don't teach you what to think, we teach you how to think. We teach you how to do thematic analysis. Like in this clip, it's a little less than 3 minutes. We're asking you to look at it and say, okay, extract the themes. You see, here is a theme of personality clashes, negotiations, leadership, organizational development, intellectual combat. Those are the 5-6 major themes in this clip. And when you can do this thematic analysis, it allows you to really be able to understand the situation at a much deeper level. Beyond that, Coach Brooks is a visionary. Of course, he's a visionary. But he also has a way in which he wants to approach this.
And his proposal is an unknown.
Yes.
So part of the buy-in for everybody is they have to let him do this just as, even if they're just going to let him fail.
You know, this is always a challenge in panel interviews. There are a couple of people that say, yes, this is he's thought this through. That it's not as if the athletes in the United States are not as good as the athletes in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
But there are others who are like, wait, we're operating even under a financial constraint. If he wants to make the schedule tougher, longer, more competitive, okay, that has financial ramifications. Who's going to pay for that? The NHL? Because the Hockey Federation doesn't have the money for that.
Right. He also introduced a variable that nobody could quite grasp, and that was the idea of team chemistry.
In this context, and this is, again, we go back to this over and over, the importance of team chemistry and group cohesion. The sum is always greater than the parts. And great things are not achieved in isolation. That even when you look at many great inventors, usually they had assistants who were also very, very
like powerful collaborators, right?
Powerful collaborators.
Yeah.
Like I think, I remember seeing part of a documentary called 20 Feet from Stardom. And it was about the lead singer is the one that the camera is always on. But there are people who are only 20 feet behind who also have a beautiful voice.
Right.
And really add to the song.
Yeah.
Now, I know very little about music, but I do understand that analogy.
And it's what makes up chords and everything else that the whole progression of music is built on. So, yes.
And so here, he's like, okay, we're going to be best conditioned. We're going to be this. We're going to have stuff. We're going to adopt a system. And I'm going to pick the players. Like how he even picks Jim Craig to be the starting goalie. Mm-hmm. And the backup goalie is Janusek, who helped them win an NCAA championship.
Right.
But he realized, this is how he builds it. So, but he's disciplined. It's just not an emotional commitment of we think we can take on the Soviet Union. He has thought it through for us to compete with the Soviet Union. We are going to have to adopt a hybrid system. We're going to have to be best conditioned.
And challenge everybody to work
and we're going to have to train the players to adopt it.
Yeah. Which they did.
Which they did, yeah.
That's what I love about the way the movie unfolds.
Yes.
Is he had this belief of what they were capable of, empowered them to do it, and as a result, they responded.
Yes.
They did exactly, and then exceeded his expectations, as evidenced by picking up the gold medal.
Yes.
Incredible. Now, again, because we keep referring back to triangulated thinking, let's talk about the tensions and the three cornerstones of the triangulated thinking here.
Okay, great. Yeah, so from a visual proverb perspective, so bottom left would be chemistry with the subordinates, which is the players. But then Herb Brooks is faced with a challenge. He has to have a chemistry with superiors. Let's just call it the panel that is selecting the coach. Now, he reports to one person, but they all have a say. So this is a situation in which there are a lot of chefs in the kitchen. Throughout this entire thing, he has to manage that. And he says, look, I can do this job, but I need a certain amount of flexibility. Mm-hmm. And he's teaching a new system. And everyone on that panel is not convinced that this is the way.
Right.
Not only will the system work, but do you even have the time to teach it? So on one hand, your bottom left chemistry with subordinates, which is the most important.
Right.
But how he manages a relationship with the Amateur Hockey Federation board and the people who are,
Effectively as superiors, right?
is effectively superior because he reports to a board, right?
Right.
How he manages that is a very delicate situation.
Because it isn't just based on his performance with the team.
Yeah.
It is education. It is providing opportunity and insights that go along with, see, we tried this and here's what. There was a lot of that.
Yeah. And he has to be laser focused, right? If he has to spend part of his energy getting the team ready for the Olympics and part of the energy reporting to the board, he's not going to be effective.
Yeah.
And so he basically talks to, I forget the one, and he says, look, I kind of, basically he's saying to him, look, I can do this job, but I need a certain amount of freedom with which to operate.
Right.
If we have regular check-ins, they're going to be a little counterproductive.
Not unlike anybody who takes over a team or an agency or a nonprofit group or any of that. There's always going to be those tensions. And you do have to report on both sides.
Yeah. And so you're balancing one, the relationship with the chemistry with the subordinates, then your chemistry with the supervisors, and at the top, he has the strength of his personality and his vision is critical. That people have to, even the assistant coach, I forget the assistant coach's name. Even he has to be convinced.
Right.
Can this really work? Are we pushing the players? Can we really have them run this hard in this compressed time frame?
Which I think we know in contemporary leadership is kind of a creating the alliances and alliance partnerships that really support and move us forward.
Yeah.
That's what he was demonstrating here.
Yes.
Even though we didn't know his full capabilities in this situation, we had people that kept saying, I see it. It's coming. I'm supportive of that.
Yeah, and there's a very critical point here. With his subordinates, he needs 100% buy-in. With the superiors, he just needs enough buy-in that they leave him alone to operate.
Right.
So, and that's a key point in management and leadership.
Managing partnerships and managing superiors.
Yeah.
And he did a good job of that. I mean, that was throughout the movie. That was a really good thing.
So the 12 players out of the final roster, I think, because they're 12, I think, right? They have to be 100% vested in Coach Brooks and what he's advancing. The let's call it the hockey board. They just need to. He needs them just enough to allow him room to operate.
Which just defers back to if we have done something long enough and with enough repetition, and we get tired, we don't believe in the possibilities. We just want to maintain status quo.
Yes.
And I think even in the clip, it was like, and if we can. What was it? The one coach saying something like, "We just don't want to be embarrassed."
Yes,
right.
That's the threshold.
that was the threshold. It's like, well, gee, anything above that's going to be a big win.
Yeah, and so what is he doing? He's thinking fast, but he's also thinking slow simultaneously.
He had to slow down in order to analyze the relationships against his vision.
Yes,
correct.
Yes, because in the interview process, in this clip, like he says, we have to adopt a hybrid system, and he begins to try to articulate what that system is, and then he gets interrupted. Right? And so he's not really able to like show the diagrams which he had prepared. So that's a key point. And here, like, critically thinking and evaluating coupled with self-belief, right? And he doesn't believe in himself. He believes that the players he's going to assemble are going to be up to this task.
Right.
Let's call them kids in this case, right? Because they say that these kids can pick it fast. He is convinced that kids can rise to the challenge.
So he did not limit what they were capable of doing. And now in modern psychology, we know more than ever that that's such a critical component to limiting beliefs and what stops us from moving beyond what we're either capable of or what we've attempted to do.
Yes.
Now, remind me, Coach Brooks had a vested interest in that he was on the 1960 hockey team.
He was selected to be on the 1960 hockey team. He was in the team picture, but then he was cut like a couple of weeks before the Olympics actually started.
So there was actually a little bit of personal drive here.
Yeah, that was a very big motivation factor that he was on the team. He was even in the team picture, but then he did not go with the team to the Olympics, the 1960 Rome Olympics, and he. So there is this thing. He mentions that throughout. When you read about his story or in the movie, that when he became a coach, this is the team he wanted to coach.
Yeah.
And this is a tremendous uphill climb because they're facing the Soviet Union, who are gold medal winners in 4 straight Olympics,
Right.
not 1 or 2, 4 straight.
Yeah. Always came in favored.
Mm-hmm. And they've been playing together for at least a decade. And conventional wisdom, they have the best goalkeeper in the world.
Yeah.
And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
But there's a point here about Coach Brooks where observationally, the things that he's observed over the course of this many years, and since his own inability to get on the team, that came into his awareness about what needed to be done and
Yes.
how to make these changes and why it was so critical to do it. And I wonder sometimes if that impassioned him to the point that he did, when he presented to the hockey board, how he better managed them. Because there was a passion that was driven under that.
Yes. See, what he's doing is, this is an excellent case of leadership through system building. Because he's introducing a new system in the sport,
Right.
which is a hybrid of the American-Canadian system. And he's teaching it in compressed time. And so he's not operating under financial constraint. He's operating under relationship constraint. He's operating under, most importantly, time constraint. Mm-hmm. And so part of it is just not his strong personality and his conviction and self-belief. It's that it's through system building. And system building is what the sum is always greater than the parts.
Right. And he knew that intimately.
He knew that intimately.
And he didn't, and the players were not just parts. They
Yeah.
were critical to this building, this kind of machine that could go forward.
Yes. And ultimately, no matter how well coached you are, the players have to take the field and in this case, put the puck in the net, right?
Right.
And they exceed expectations. So he understands leadership through system building. And there's a discipline system. So we talk about discipline, right? Not just thinking. Mm-hmm. Disciplined action and not relying on standalone talent.
Right. Right. And he collectively had to keep cycling back through critical thinking, kind of like this triangulated process. Mm-hmm. He had to keep coming back to that.
Every single practice.
Every time he met anybody that was pushing back or questioning him or anything that was going along in the progress of this. At some point, people got on board, mm-hmm. and they then, as supportive as they were of him, they were still shocked whenever the team won.
Well, that's true, but if we step back a little bit, the players are much more willing to adopt his philosophy, right?
True.
Why? Because if they don't, they're going to get cut.
Easy motivation.
So we have to say that there is a part of the stick here, right? So he's motivated in them both ways. One, through challenge, and also through fear. Nobody wants to be cut, right? I mean, this is an honor to represent your team in the Olympics.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And so we shouldn't sugarcoat that. So, because again, we want to enhance thinking creatively and expansively. So here, because there are dates, right? You have a roster first of 20, then and they have to be down by 12 at a specific date.
Right.
So part of it is if there's anyone that does resistance to buying in the system, like he even gives them personality tests. No, they're not going to adopt this new system. They're not going to be on the team. Mm-hmm. So there is that in this specific case. He's motivating primarily through challenge, but also there's a healthy dose of fear. And there's nothing wrong with a healthy dose of fear.
Right. But I think in today's day and age, we want to shy away from that. Like, we don't want anybody to be uncomfortable, and yet...
there's intimidation, and this is not what we're talking about. But in this case, this is an honor to represent your country. Mm-hmm. It's a very big honor. It's an honor to even go watch them play.
Right.
So this is not a complete symmetrical triangle. The most important of the three is vision and character, right? But then the relationship with the subordinates, that in this case is more vital and important for the success of the goal and to be successful in the Olympics than the relationship with the superiors or the board.
Right.
But if he overlooks the relationship with the superiors and the board, he's not going to be successful.
True.
Because there are going to be too many chefs in the kitchen and it is going to be disruptive. And there has to be a balance of this.
And we've seen too many chefs in the kitchen in lots of that sideline really great activities or really great visions of inventions or things such as that. And his character in the movie manages to balance all of that with some tension and with some successes. And ultimately, with achieving a goal that nobody even imagined possible. So everything he did, his discipline, his critical thinking, the balances that he had to do, it was all worth it. And that was pretty extraordinary for America to experience, because all they saw was the gold. They didn't see everything that went into that. Right?
No, I mean, this is a fantastic story. I mean, even my children, I remember watching this live. You know, I remember going back to school the day after, and there was so much excitement, and even my teacher was all excited, and even people who were not into hockey, you know, it was a very, very big, you know, it was a breakthrough moment. Right?
And it kind of changed hockey, the face of hockey and what was possible from that point on, right? Because of this one man. Because of Herb Brooks. That's a powerful story of change. All right, now there's probably a number of key takeaways here that we probably haven't covered. Can you want to walk us through them? And let's...
Sure. So one, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, leadership through system building. That if you want to leave legacy, it just cannot be a charismatic personality. It has to be also to develop systems. Okay, one. Here, perceived feasibility versus ambition. Because what you hear is, he's ambitious, right? But is this feasible? And the interview panel says, is this even possible? And they specifically say that, okay, you've been implementing parts of this new system at the University of Minnesota, but you, by your own admission, you've said it's a couple of years. You don't have years, you have months.
Right.
Okay. And the key takeaway, the strongest and highest performing teams is with a well-designed, collectively leveraged system that respects the synchronization of all the major actors and all their strengths, rather than simply assembling the people that are the highest individual performers.
Wow. Reminds me of Phil Jackson in the Bulls.
And
the way he led teams.
And you know, there are certain cases, like for example, you know, being in one situation, there was one person who was really outstanding, is a technical problem. This is the problem, and just leave him alone. And he worked 42 hours straight to solve the technical problem. So there has to be a balance. You know, like there are very few absolutes, but it's a general rule. The sum is greater than the parts, and how do you collectively leverage and institutionalize the system?
Now there's something else that struck me about this is that while Coach Brooks had a vision for what could happen, he did not believe that he was the only commander of that ship. And there was collaboration, there was partnership, everything he had to do to build buy-in, all of those other. He couldn't have done it himself. And that wasn't even possible.
He had. I think the assistant coach's name is Greg.
There you go.
And then they develop a really tight bond. And then there's one key player on the board that does shield Herb from the inquiries of, say, the hiring body.
Right.
And that's key, because that can serve as a major distraction.
And that gets in the way of so much of our successes. It's the distractions, and we give credence to them. And I think there's an old leadership tag that we've always got to manage to the mission and manage to the vision, but not to the problems, because those are just putting out fires. That's all it is. So what else do we need to take away from this?
No, I think those are the key, because we can keep going on this, because it's such a fantastic case of not just that upset, it's a case of self-belief, it's a case of developing a system, it's a case of getting buy-in from subordinates, it's a case of implications, like this is a deep lesson. Like we can talk about how to manage constraints, what are pitfalls. Inevitably, it's human nature to defer to top performers, but they may not be the best in a group environment.
Especially if they treat themselves as a lone wolf and expect everybody to catch up to them.
You're talking about overhauling, and you're talking about all these different things, and the interviewing body, when they're doing it, and I think this is not this is the last key point here, they're operating with an intellectual constraint, an intellectual trap. What trap have they put themselves in? The Soviets have won 4 straight times. They're the best team in the world. We can't really compete against them. And Herb has to articulate intellectually, not just emotionally, no, we're as good as them now. This is why we can't compete against them. A hybrid system.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen this over and over in many environments that we're dealing with people who fall into an intellectual trap or have put themselves into an intellectual trap. And this is where critical thinking as a discipline is vital, because triangular thinking helps you avoid intellectual traps.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We should leave it on that. That's a really great place to stop. So again, these discussions with you I always love. Thanks for engaging in this. Thanks for bringing us the clips that you've got. And we will look forward to our next discussion together. And to everybody else who's been with us, thanks for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you the next time. And Assad, I know you're going to bring some great stuff in our next meeting.
Good.
Thanks again. Thanks, everybody.
Great to be with you again, Jeffrey.